and stuff.
Yeah. Oh. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again to the National Oval Racing Association. Good Lord, I'm going to get that correct one of these days. But the NORA broadcast booth, as we're bringing you live GT4 action from Sebring. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty with the ticker program for this event, and it will be up and running for the NASCAR races this weekend. But for this one, we're going to be going without it. I am joined once again, and for his first GT4 race, by Josh.
You have to go live in Discord so I can see.
Oh, that is correct. I apologize.
But yes, first race for me in this series, so we'll see what happens. I know I watched the opening round, I guess you could say, from Daytona, and probably
Some
one of the better
fireworks.
finishes we've had.
There were definitely some fireworks there, to say the least. To recap what had occurred at the previous event, Mick Schumacher, currently on camera, I think that was Kevin Magnussen out in the grass. Mick Schumacher and a certain, I believe it was Jackie Ickx, made a little bit of contact. Jackie's right rear axle completely snapped. That car went for a wild spin. Kimi got involved, Kimi Räikkönen, and Mick, I think, half spun it, and I think Juan Pablo Montoya spun it too. Somebody else spun it. I mean, it was just an incredible, crazy finish. It was one of the best things I think I've seen in quite a long while. And for a race that was very, very cool, calm, and collected for a long period of time, to have a finish that nuts, per se, at the end, that was pretty good. So I don't know that we will see a repeat of that type of finish here at Sebring, but this is a completely different course, and there's certainly some great passing zones, especially into this final hairpin, which is one of the bumpiest hairpins probably in the world.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see too. We had 4 new entries for tonight, so it'll put us up to 36 in this series, which believe will it'll be the second highest. But yeah, we've got one race in. Owners were able to put their skill points where they think they needed them, and it'll be interesting to see kind of how the new ratings play out. I mean, I know obviously one race isn't a lot of progression per se, but I know a lot of guys went for the straight up skill boost. We saw a couple with aggression, and actually a couple of different ones mixed in, but a lot of guys went for straight up skills. So I know looking at the times, we have 2 of our new guys sitting there in the top 5,
and
with another one in 6th.
Yep. So it's going to be very interesting. Some things though never change. Kimi Räikkönen goes top of the board again in practice. I think we're good. Probably. Well, we're not quite good to go to qualifying yet. We should probably recap the points before we go to qualifying. So let's pull that up for the ladies and gentlemen at home. So Niki Lauda would walk away from that incredible finish as the race winner of the inaugural Daytona Grand Prix for NORA Sim Series. Brian O'Connor would walk away second, so he's got 18 points. Ayrton Senna with 15 points in third. I believe that is Nick Boulay. Is got 12 points. With 10 points was Mick Schumacher. Managed to bring it home 5th after that whole incident. His car managed to make it home. A few others didn't. James Hunt comes home 6th place and gets 8 points. Juan Pablo Montoya was 7th, so he gets 6. Michael Schumacher gets 4. So it was a great battle to see who was going to get the final points, and then it just kind of went all out the window, and I think they all ended up with points. He who shall not be named finished ninth, so he gets 2 points, aka Lord Voldemort. And Jan Magnussen rounded out the top 10 of point scorers, and he gets a point. And we do award points to the fastest lap, and so you might see him get quite a few. It's kind of looked like that so far. He's been the fastest at everything when he's by himself, it seems. Kimi Räikkönen, once he got the fast lap last week, so that's a 1 point for him. So we'll see how that plays out going forward. But I think rather than riding on board with Kimi again for the second week in a row, why don't we take a lap around Sebring on board with Chad Reed? He's one of the new drivers, and I think it'd be an interesting little change from, riding with Kimi for the second straight week.
One thing that'll be interesting too, I know we talked about all last week at Daytona, just how unique the AI is. We kind of said it might have actually been I think it was Interlagos, but it seemed like Kimi was the favorite out of everybody at Daytona, and then as soon as we went somewhere else, Mick kind of stepped his game up, which I know he had said before. It could be something with the ratings, the aggression and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see if Kimi can kind of make us eat our words, per se.
Well, I believe Sebring, in the few tests I did, was a Kimi track, although Mick did well as well. So it's going to be also one of those things. Like I said, what we could see all season is a battle between Kimi Räikkönen and Mick Schumacher, and it's going to be interesting to see if anybody can make those words, me eat those words, and say, hey, listen, these guys are good, but we're going to get up there and we're going to win too. And certainly Niki Lauda did it, but it was definitely the Kimi and Mick show for a lot of that race last week.
Which is surprising too, because again, you mentioned it before we went live. There's, I believe, 3 or 2 more guys that are already maxed out rating.
Yeah.
Right, so 3. So, you would think, they're all 100 rating. They should be running even. Well, it's a mix of everything. Aggression. Getting into the corner harder than your competition. Getting off the corner better. Because of your higher aggression. That's a big thing.
And I think
smoothness, maybe not so much, but I guess it could obviously help.
Mm-hmm.
Optimism's the same way. How hard to get in the corner, how hard to get back in the gas, how soon you get back in the gas. It all adds up. I mean, you can have 100 skill, but if some of your other ratings are kind of lower, it definitely shows.
Well, and I think the biggest thing that shows exactly what you're talking about is Kimi Räikkönen, who, when we made the skill points, he was set at a 95. But he's been one of the more dominant guys. And I mean, even now, he's still not at 100, but he's fastest by himself. Or fastest when he's out there alone, almost, it seems like. So we'll see if that changes in qualifying. Who knows? Maybe his lap was a draft lap. You can see him behind Lewis Hamilton right now. But we'll see what changes as we go into this race and we go into qualifying. I believe we're now finally ready to do that.
Yeah, we can go ahead.
So we'll ride on board with Chad.
To kind of not really prove the point, but kind of touch on it. He is, like you said, still sitting at a 97.
Yeah, it's not. And I had hit the wrong button in Discord. That is on me. So yeah, no. The last thing you had said before it cut out was he is 97. So yeah, he's still not 100, but he's still one of the better drivers, if you would.
I'm gonna need you to go live again too, sir.
Yes, I will. So we're gonna ride on board for the warm-up lap on board with Chad Reed, so that you guys can get kind of a feel of what Sebring looks like from inside the car, if you were. Obviously, it's not from the driver's seat, but it's a very, very unique track. Built on an old World War II airbase. The whole track is pretty much purpose-built, and I don't believe the airbase is even used anymore. A portion of it So it's become one of the most famous tracks in South Florida in terms of road racing, and it's a lot of fun to watch and enjoy. Very flat racetrack, as is a lot of things in Florida. We don't have a lot of elevation change down here, but certainly a great race. And this is one of the changes they made over the years. Instead of going all the way out to where that scoreboard is and then hanging the hairpin, you've got the hairpin here into a little bit of a kind of quick left-right that you don't really even have to turn the wheel. So they've made some changes over the years, and certainly for the better, I think. This course is fantastic. And of course, they run the 12 hours of Sebring here on a yearly basis for the most part. And I think they still did last year. They're still going to do it this year. And I believe it's still scheduled for March this year. So,
Which, real quick, to kind of touch on your 12 hours of Sebring, we have not officially announced it yet, but I'll kind of make a official announcement for the few that are watching, if anybody is watching. We will be adding a endurance series to the league. I know we kind of planned out a couple races, going to do them for fun, but talking with one of the admins who ran the 12 hours of Daytona with us the other night, we're going to make it a series. We're going to take points from Daytona. Not really sure what kind of points yet, but we're going to use points from Daytona and kind of go just off the teams and kind of add a little series, once a month, something different than the oval stuff, and have some fun with it. But with that being said, I will once again let you take qualifying. I'm going to step away because when I flew from Baltimore to down to Florida for the race, I forgot to purchase a beverage, so I will let you cover qualifying again.
all right. Well, we are going to hop out of the car, so you guys have taken a complete lap of Sebring. So we'll get on board with the TV Nick's camera, and we're going to take a look around for the full lap here of Sebring, just like this. And it's going to be Chad Reed going down into the first corner. Big long sweeper across the tarmac, very bumpy. That whole tarmac section is extremely bumpy, and it makes up a good portion of the track. And then you get into this area, and it's a really kind of technical little bit of track. It's arguably one of the more technical sections on the track, into a nice straightaway. And this will be a good opportunity for making overtakes. This is going to be your chance to see some passes in the race as they get down here into this little hairpin, as I think they call it a hairpin, into this section. You can get a good run through there, get beside somebody, and really, you can get the power out on the exit. You can do well, but then you got this nice little run up, and I think this as well can be a bit of a passing opportunity. It's not quite as much of a passing opportunity as the hairpin, but you can definitely get it done here. And then we move into another little kind of sweeper section, really nicely well done, and then into the run back to the airfield, essentially, and a run down here. I think they actually used to run this complete on the tarmac where it starts there, and then I believe they paved over it just to make life easier for some of the drivers, because boy, I would assume they were breaking cars, they were breaking drivers, so you had to pave over this at some point, especially here. It's just such long straightaways, but it's incredible to see that they left so much of the tarmac on the front stretch, and even here where he dives into this corner, and right there, it's just all the tarmac. So you're just bumps all the way through this I think it's the Sunshine hairpin, I believe it's called. I'm not 100% sure, but it's the final corner as we come to the line, and who's going to get the pole? Chad Reed goes second, and who else could we have guessed? It's not fully over, but we're going to take a look here so you can see it's now over. Who else, ladies and gentlemen, but your pole sitter once more was Kimi Räikkönen. So a great qualifying run by Kimi Räikkönen, going almost about 6,000ths of a second faster than Chad Reed. Three of our four new drivers went second, third, and fourth, so congratulations to those guys. Certainly well done there for that team. Jackie Ickx 5th, Brian O'Connor 6th, Mick Schumacher 7th, Ayrton Senna 8th, and Nicky Lauda, your winner from last week, 9th. So a lot has changed in 1 week, and I do believe that had we gotten those 4 drivers in, we might have seen a little bit of difference even last week. But once again, Kimi Räikkönen, just utter domination when he's by himself so far, and we'll have to see if that continues even in the race with yet another fast lap. At this point, I'm just, I think, trying to fill time until Josh gets back from getting his drink.
Very good.
Okay. So, as I was saying, the man did it again. And so far, when it means being fastest, if the question is who is it in GT4, the answer is Kimi Räikkönen.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like you said, we get 3 of our 4 new drivers, all part of the PAL racing team. Right there, second, third, fourth, Chad Reed, Tanner Faust, Colin McRae. It'll be interesting when you want to take the green. I think actually, if you want, we can go ahead and roll. And then I'll finish out your top 10 and go to 20th on the grid. But yeah, Frank Keedy sitting 10th, Juan Montoya 11th, Takami Fujiwara 12th, Nick Boulay 13th, James Hunt 14th, Scott Dixon 15th, Alexander Rossi 16th, Lord Voldemort 17th, Michael Schumacher 18th, George Russell 19th, and Ken Block 20th. And I'll let you finish it out.
Absolutely. You get Jan Magnussen sitting in 21st, Lewis Hamilton in 22nd. You get Fernando Alonso in 23rd, Mark Winterbottom in 24th. It's Frosty. 25th is Colin Braun. 26th is Lando Norris. Max Verstappen will roll off in 27th. 28th is Darth Vader. Kevin Roy lines up in 29th, and Hans Landa is 30th. If you want to take out the last 6 and take us home.
Ramsey Bolton 31st, K-Mag, Kevin Magnussen 32nd. I'm going to butcher this one. Oscar Galderson.
That's how I was pronouncing it, so we're in the same boat if it's butchered.
Well, it works for me. 33rd. Mike Roch 34th. Old Danny Rick, Daniel Ricciardo 35th. And from down under, we'll say, under the sea though, SpongeBob SquarePants. So you almost need Patrick to be a buddy there on the back row. But no, I think we're ready to go, and I'm going to take the start since you're the road course specialist here. But it'll be interesting to see, kind of like what you said, though. You know, Kimi by himself has proven he can be one of the best we got in the series. So we're going to wait for 5 red lights here for round 2 here at Sebring.
Green flag, green
and
flag.
we're underway from Sebring. Kimi gets a good jump with Chad Reed.
Gets a
Gonna
better
beat a third
jump.
one, it looks like.
Absolutely, and I don't even know if Kimi's going to be able to defend even for third here. So Chad Reed really getting the jump on Kimi Räikkönen right away, but he does manage to hit the defense done of second, and he's going to hold on to that, and he's going to look to get Chad Reed as we have a major stack up in the back. We're going to go ahead and start looking back. You can see, certainly, I believe that's Alexander Rossi.
It's Rossi.
Yeah, Rossi and I believe that's Voldemort making contact. I'm not really sure what happened there, but there they go around, and somewhere, I think Lewis Hamilton, I believe he's got a broken axle. The way that car was spinning and sparking, he does. So it looks like here he comes in, he makes contact with Fernando, and well, that car's done. I mean, we're talking about a broken axle on that car. So absolutely, he's done. And I believe Rossi and Voldemort are also done.
I saw Rossi right there at the end of that replay towed.
Yep, and it looks like, yeah. So that's what it's going to be as we go back to live, and it's just Kimi Räikkönen trying to chase back down Chad Reed.
You got Voldemort in the 48, and then Rossi is in the 27.
All right, so there we go. So 3 cars out of the race in the first corner. That is incredible, to say the least. So Kimi Räikkönen runs second after qualifying in the pole. Surprising to see him not take the lead off the start, I think. Certainly after Daytona, it looked like that'd be the thing he'd do all season. But Chad Reed got a great jump, and you can kind of see there's some battling going on in the back. I believe that Jackie Ickx is now trying to make a pass on Mick Schumacher into, I believe this is called the Sunshine Hairpin. I'm not fully certain on that, but this is a good battle here, as it looks like Jackie Ickx and his teammate are now going to try to get around Mick Schumacher. Last week's, two of the drivers that really dominated, if you would, last week, going at it again here.
Yeah, Ickx led 12 laps. Mick actually only led 4. Senna was your second highest at 9, but they were the only drivers to lead more than 1. But it'll be interesting to kind of see if they can kind of almost settle down and make a charge toward the front. I know, again, all the practices we saw, traveling kind of around the world, it was, either Mick, Kimi, or it seemed like they were battling that whole Lauda and Ickx team. I believe is Rebel Racing, but the competition has stepped their game up. We've got more drivers, and they're showing those, I guess, 4 or 5 that they came to play.
Absolutely. And as they run right now, I know it's still very early. It's only lap 2, but last person for points currently is Dario Franchitti. So he's running in 10th.
Franchitti did not score points last week. We're kind of using the Formula 1 point system, but it was a blessing for the PAL Racing team. Granted, kind of like what you said, if we would have got them in time, maybe they could have snuck in and got points and made that finish even a little more interesting. But some life things happened. I couldn't make it home and get them in for you. But like I said, doing this point format in a way could potentially have saved them. One win here, and you're already kind of back into the picture.
Absolutely, and especially in this scenario where I believe Lauda's running in 9th. He'd walk away from today with just 2 points.
Yeah, so it'd be enough to keep him in the lead, even if Chad Reed got quick time. It would only be 26 points, so he would still end up, your point leader. But obviously have to look where everybody else is running. But yeah, I think this style points opens up not necessarily better racing, but kind of more forgiving. You can kind of miss it, and or DNF like we've seen already, and still kind of be in the points. But
absolutely, because I believe even right now, Kimi Räikkönen would be running very well in terms of the points. He'd be bringing home 18 points. So that'd be a total of 19 if he gets the fast lap. And he's actually, as I'm speaking about him, saying, I don't want 18 points. I want the whole 25.
I was going to say we caught our man from under the sea, but there's another car up here as well. This is looking to get a little hairy.
Oh, and Kimi does get the pass done, and now Brian O'Connor's going to look at Chad Reed. Brian O'Connor absolutely having a fantastic start to this race, as he's up from 6th place. As I believe
Actually,
this is
George Russell.
So he's made an early unscheduled pit stop, as has Michael Schumacher. And I believe I had also seen Frosty on pit road. I believe Mark Winterbottom was on pit road.
They may have gotten a little bit of damage from that first corner incident, and we just happened to miss them pitting. But big thing here, Kimi got clear of George Russell and is not going to clear Schumacher, it looks like,
and
potentially.
And I believe, if you were seeing it correctly in the rear view, so Chad and them have now gotten clear of George Russell, but you could see they were being held up. They just couldn't get around George Russell. And you could just see that gap now.
Looks like almost everybody cleared George from what I could see. Yeah, he's
behind. He's behind Lauda now. So yeah,
If you look too, that closed up even Mick, and I believe Jackie Ickx too. They've closed right up behind McRae, Faust, and Reed.
O'Connor and Reed, yeah. O'Connor absolutely having, I think, as of right now, the best start award. Hard charger, whatever you want to call it, up 6th to 3rd, as he almost gets into the back of Mick Schumacher. As I'm talking about broadcaster's curse. As I mention his name, the about doors Schumacher probably would have wrecked his car. So we'll see here, as I believe we're going to maybe see a team pass here. O'Connor defending, and it looks like Tanner Faust with an incredible decision to go to the outside, and he's going to go off the track, but he manages to hold on to it. But certainly very interesting there, as now McRae is going to dive it up his inside. and he's going to clear there. So Colin McRae gets around his teammate Tanner Faust, who's now going to look to do a switchback. And all of this, as you can see very plainly, has put Jackie X square on the back bumper of Tanner Faust.
Which, real quick, before we complete any more laps, go ahead and pull up the results. I want to see what that gap was at the line from your leader. So 1.6. So let's see if Reed, got the lead early on the start. Let's see if he can kind of close that gap some now that he's cleared O'Connor a little bit, and see if if he can put down some consistent lap times. But we've been talking about points. Out of your 3 that have DNF so far, Lord Voldemort was the only driver last week to score points as he received 2 points. So very, very rough start for Lewis and Rossi.
Absolutely. And what I do want to take a look at is, at the moment, who has the quick lap. So Kimi Räikkönen with a 2:10.1 is your current quick lap from him. And then Chad Reed with a 2:10.0. 2:8. Brian O'Connor, I believe, would currently, maybe? Yes. Brian O'Connor looks to currently be the one scoring the fast lap point. So try to look through the whole field real quick. So yeah, these guys are all 2:13. So yes, Brian O'Connor with a 2:01 or 2:10.01 4. Or was there? Yeah, no, that was quick. So yeah, he'd be your current quickest lap holder. But it is still early, and we'll see how that all plays out as this race goes on. And I do want to see the gap at the line. It is down 3/10. So Chad Reed closed 3/10 in that lap.
Which is kind of ironic because, not even just practice and qualifying, but even, Daytona and seems like practice just in general. Kimi, like you said, when he kind of gets on his own and can click some laps off, he seems to be the fastest one on the track all the time. But we saw it right there, proof's in the pudding, as they say. Chad Reed closing that gap.
Absolutely. Chad Reed, a master of 2 wheels, now on 4 wheels, and we'll see how far he takes it. Certainly, gonna be an interesting race throughout, but I just can't take my eyes off the fact that these guys, they kind of, Tanner and Colin have been battling, and they kind of pull away from Jackie and Mick a little bit, and then they start battling again, and then Jackie and Mick are right back on their back bumpers, and they pull away, and it's been a little interesting so far. It's only been 5 laps, and I think we're actually probably not too far off from pit stops. I believe we'll probably be looking at it once again like lap 12 or 11, and it's gonna be interesting to see. Another thing there with the pit stops is who comes in early, who comes in late. What's going to be the split on the strategy?
I think something I noticed last week, well, not really last week, but I guess it would be Thursday. One thing I noticed on Thursday, the first stop, everybody seemed to come in at the same time. I think you had 1 or 2 stragglers kind of stay out that 1 extra lap. And then the second round is when you saw the variety. But one thing I noticed too with the pit stops, mainly just, I think it was because I was focused on him, but the first stop, Mick lost a good bit of time. I know Kimi lost a lot more time, but Mick lost some time. Actually, I think he lost second or the lead under the pit stops. Then the second round, when it came down to it, his pit crew, I would argue one of the best stops of that kind of pit cycle, for say, got him back out right behind the leader, and he ended up leading a little bit at the end of that race. So it'll be interesting to see how the ratings are affected again as this lead is closing dramatically.
Absolutely. So Kimi was 2:09.64, and you could see there 2:09.164 from Chad Reed. This gap is closing, and it's not going to be long before Chad Reed is challenging.
And one thing to think about again, I just talked about it, the pit crews. Mick Schumacher's pit crew rating before the upgrades, I believe, was only a 5. Now, myself saw the race. I knew what I wanted to address. He's already 100 rating, so I put his 3 points towards pit crew. So they're only at an 8. But if you look at our front 2 runners, Kimi, a 50 pit crew skill. Chad Reed is at a 90. So if you're Chad Reed right now, I'm pushing as hard as I can to at least get, to his bumper, if not take over the lead, because if the ratings don't lie, and his pit crew, obviously again the AI, but if his pit crew can perform like the ratings say that he will, every second, every 10th, every 100th, every 1,000th he gains before this pit stop is just going to be how much more he gains on pit road, which could give him the lead and potentially set him up for a win.
Absolutely. But there's an old adage that we use in NASCAR, and catching him is one thing, passing him is another. And we'll have to
Well,
see if
yeah.
he can do it.
Which is why I said, though, if you're Chad, maybe not passing, or, if you get a chance, go for it. But like I said, though, every 10th, every 100th he closes is one less that he will need. Again, ratings obviously, clearly don't mean everything. As Mick, like I said, only had a 5 picker rating and had probably the best stop, that second stop at Daytona. But, if the numbers hold up, you would think that the higher pit crew rating will definitely get him ahead. But just like that's what I mean, though, just that little bit he can gain on track, if his pit crew gains that little bit, on pit road, and he can come out up front, it's a big difference trying to pass him as opposed to just doing it on pit road.
Absolutely, as we have a battle for the final spot to get points. It's Dario Franchitti versus Juan Pablo Montoya, and I believe George Russell is just kind of throwing his hat in this mix here. Oh no, I apologize. That is not George Russell. It's Takumi Fujiwara, and that is for position as well. So this is a 3-car battle to see who's going to possibly get the final points of this race, and I'm actually still mistaken. This is a 4-car battle to see who's going to get the final points of this race, because James Hunt is in 13th, and now he's in 12th, because he has gone around Juan Pablo.
Something to kind of point out, too, we don't know for sure, but we think it was because of the damage. But even with getting lapped, look at where Michael and George are running. Right now, Michael would be right in the points, and I think that was your battle for 10th we were just on. Michael would be probably running a good solid, 7th or 8th right now, and George would be, in that point battle. So turn 1 damage burying these guys, and more than likely ruining their race for points, unless we somehow get a dramatic wreck and the front half of the field is involved in DNFs. But it's clear right now, as we are watching it live, Chad Reed is coming.
Absolutely. Now, the good news for Kimi is it doesn't really, it doesn't really look like Brian is catching them as much as Chad has caught him. But he is probably coming as well, I believe. They're all clicking off laps. I think both Chad and Brian might be clicking off laps faster than Kimi. It doesn't look like Brian's might be quite as fast as Chad's are. And I think Colin and Tanner are probably just about equal with Kimi. So we'll have to see. Obviously, with only a few laps before what we assume is pit stops, it gets really interesting, as I believe this is also the lap to take for 20 to go.
Yeah, that it will. As we were watching the interval. I'm going to pull it up again real quick just so we can kind of check O'Connor, but it is clear Chad Reed is here, as O'Connor has caught a little bit. It's down to just about 2 seconds, but Reed gets to his right rear. Can he hold on being out of that rubber? He does not, so he'll have to fall back in line and maybe set up a pass here to go to the next corner.
But Kimi Räikkönen, being the crafty veteran that he is, and these guys are both veteran drivers in their age. Now, given Chad, as I said, veteran on 2 wheels, Kimi certainly one of the best to do it on 4 wheels of his era. Kimi knows where he needs to defend, and you watched it there. We saw on a couple occasions people getting to that inside line, going into that second corner, and being able to make a pass. And Kimi defended it. He's one of the first people I've seen defend that line, and because of that, Chad Reed didn't really have an option. So he had to fall in line.
What I am extremely surprised about, and not being biased by any means because he's one of mine, but the performance of Mick right now, him and Jackie X for that matter, they, again, in all the tests, proved they could run up front, lead laps, and, battle for wins. And not sure if Jackie's holding Mick up or not. I think they're both kind of even on pace, but they're both, in my opinion, way underperforming what I would say you could probably agree with me what we would expect out of those two.
Absolutely. This is not where I would expect Mick to have been. And he even qualified worse off than where I believe I expected him. I believe, he rolled off right where he's running. So he hasn't even moved, essentially. Jackie Ickx
And
actually lost a position.
even with that, Ickx's teammates at Rebel Racing, I believe they're all. I'll double check here. I believe they're all. Okay, so they're not 100 rating. I apologize for that. Ickx is 92, Lauda 94, but Senna is 100.
Mm-hmm.
So all the Rebel teammates, and like I said, even Mick for that matter, and what I would say is underperforming. But again, it could be a mix of everything. The aggression, the optimism, stuff like that. So maybe we're seeing everything kind of unfold. So different. One thing I think I just saw though, where asking if O'Connor was catching the front too, I believe he was right behind Chad Reed going into turn 1,
He
and he is.
absolutely is. Yeah. So their little battle a lap ago has really kind of hurt them, if you would. They're certainly not as far out in front as they once were. And we'll have to keep an eye on this here as well, because you can see even this. Colin McRae and Tanner are catching. So it's definitely these cars, or at least these drivers, they really didn't have a great lap last time by, and you can even see from Kimi's lap, they were starting to run 209s on a consistent basis, and now that last lap was a 210. And all of a sudden, because of it, O'Connor's there, McRae's pretty much there, Tanner's pretty much there. The only ones you don't see here at this point are, well, Jackie Ickx and Mick Schumacher. And I was about to say, you don't really see him at all. I was starting to get concerned something happened to him.
Which, I don't want to say it because I know it probably definitely sounds biased, but I almost think Mick is being held up. I'm surprised he hasn't made a pass, being how close he is. But like I said, I mean, you got to think. Like I said, you would know it more especially, but you've got to think from all the testing we've done, and just the practices and stuff like that, that he would be way further up than what he is, and even more so since I just read off some of the ratings for these guys. He's 100, and the whole Rebel team, the best driver is 90. All right, well, it's like Senna's 100, but the next highest is 94. So maybe the track, maybe something, but Mick is struggling here today.
Absolutely, and he's attempted to get by as, actually, we mentioned it was coming. I didn't expect it to be on lap 9, but here they all are, and you can see it's a train coming in.
So like I had said, almost identical to Daytona. As we actually have another car staying out as well. So they will take the lead. I believe there is Russell. Yeah, there goes George Russell, I believe.
So it was the cars that have stayed out are all a lap down.
Were they 3 laps or 3 lappers?
Yes, it was Russell, Michael, and SpongeBob, I believe. Or no, Michael, Russell, Magnussen is what it was, because I remember seeing one of the Beamers that I have. And Kimi's pit crew does what they needed to do. Kimi's out in first, and Mick Schumacher's pit crew.
So again, one of the worst pit crews on the grid.
And he jumps into fourth.
At an 8 rating, and he goes from 7th to 4th, and here comes, I believe, everybody else that was a lap down. So this will be tough for Mick.
This is right in front of Mick. Everybody else looks like they made it out very cleanly. Mick right in the thick of these lap cars. Certainly, and actually, oh no, they were okay. Yeah, certainly makes life interesting for Mick, and you could see, okay, so Chad Reed and Tanner got out 2nd and 3rd, but Kimi's pit crew, when they needed to step up on that pit stop, did the job. Now, of course, Kimi's asking because they had such a terrible stop on the 2nd stop back at Daytona. I believe he lost like 8 or 9 positions on the 2nd stop at Daytona. He's got to be asking, are they going to be that consistent again the next time?
So here's something, too, to keep an eye on. I would assume this would kind of, as Hans Landa is around,
in the tire barrier, all by himself.
So he just missed the corner and got in the grass and put it in reverse into the tires?
I guess the camera angle was a little messed up. I don't think he actually was. But he is towed. So I guess something broke on that car. Please, actually, I'm just going to do it this way.
We'll double. Oh, you do that too. Yeah, that works.
I was to say I'm already on him.
But looking at what just happened, pitted on lap 9. I mean, I know math was one of my better subjects, but your multiples of 9, 18, and 27. So I would assume this would come down to the pit strategy riskiness rating, but it is going to be interesting to see when the second pit stop happens. Because if you go 9 laps, you would assume again, lap 18, that final stop might have some guys running out coming to the checkered.
Exactly what I was just thinking. Like, that could get very hairy. As it looks like Jackie X runs 7th, Ayrton Senna 8th, so definitely worst pit crew of the day so far. Has to go to Brian O'Connor's crew. Came in, he was running in 3rd on the back end of the leaders. And he's out in 10th. I mean, I would not be surprised if there was a very, and actually I believe he's 9th. I believe Mike Roch has not pitted. No,
Correct.
he has not. So that's also going to be interesting. Mike Roch hasn't pitted yet, which now means that he might be good for the finish on just one stop, where everybody else, like you were just saying with your math, is questionable. But it's also now showing that it's very possible that they could go an extra 2 laps.
Which is interesting because looking at his, riskiness, it's only a 20.
And I almost
So I
have to
don't
question
know.
if he's out of gas. I think he's out of gas right now. Well, no, because he's. I don't know what just. No, what is going on here? He must be sputtering. Because there's moments where he's got no speed on the straight line, and then he's got speed. So I think he pushed it too far.
Yep, losing speed.
As he's now on a straightaway doing 40, 50, I think, yeah. And you could see the car doing that jerky thing. It's sputtering. It's at the end.
So interesting to note, like I said, his riskiness is only a 20. Arguably the lowest in the field. I am extremely surprised we just saw that.
I hadn't seen that ever. In fairness. I in any of the tests we had done, I had never seen any of the AI run it until they were out of gas.
I I expected that personally more so from guys with a higher rating, like Colin Braun, 65 riskiness. Actually, he's the highest, but I would expect that more so out of guys from him. But we didn't. We saw it from one of the lower riskiness guys, and clearly he went a little too risky.
As we continue to say the statement, the AI keep us on our toes and do things that we don't expect them to do. So, I would just like to inform anybody that is just joining us and might be wondering why there's no ticker and why it looks like it does. We had a little bit of a mishap, technical problem, if you would, with the program that runs our ticker before the race. And we decided to go ahead with the race and fix the problem for next week. So it'll be updated for next week for this. However, we know what the problem is, we know how to fix it, and we also know that the problem should not affect the oval side. So the oval side should be fine, or, well, I guess they are a road side this week, but the NASCAR side of things. So the ticker should be good and ready to go for tomorrow? He says with a question mark.
I think for now, yeah, we'll stick to that schedule.
Okay. So it will be tomorrow for the. I was literally about to say that. For the NORA Truck Series, not the Craftsman Truck Series.
Although, Craftsman, if you happen to come across this video, we are open to sponsorship opportunities.
And boy, do I miss saying the Craftsman Truck Series, because boy, that was a gorgeous name. And it just worked. So, Kimi Räikkönen now back in the lead. He's led the whole race just about, apart from the few laps. I think it was, 2 or 3 that Chad got out in front of him at the start. Once Kimi got around him, it's been the Kimi show for leading, but Chad, Reed, and Tanner are still there. And Mick, I mean, he's certainly in a better spot. I mean, he's running in 4th, but boy, he's so far behind still.
And noticeably so. You know, obviously, I think they had the draft on the straightaway coming into the final corner, but if you look at the lap times, even being by himself, was still 4/10 off the lead 3. Like I said, running by himself. And you have to imagine, like I said, Chad and Faust, got held up, through I guess you could say the more technical section of the racetrack, but surprised is an understatement. But the performance right now is McRae is starting to reel in Mick Schumacher for 4th.
Well, and what I would argue, though, you look at his lap times by himself, and then you compare them to Jackie Hicks, and I think that your statement that he was being held up by Jackie becomes a little less biased and a little more accurate. It does kind of seem like Jackie was being a little bit slow in front of him, and Mick just couldn't get around him. And that's known to happen on road courses, so that could have played a large part into it. I don't know that it changes how far up he was. Certainly he's now running in 4th, which is good for him, but
which, again, we touched on about Daytona. Granted, you were in the booth for that one. I was, I guess we could say, flying home for the day. But, we try and spend the points where we think they would be needed. Obviously, I didn't give Mick a good pit crew, but like I said, they were only rated a 5. And I mean, you can kind of give a counter statement, but I would argue the best pit crew that second stop at Daytona on Thursday night.
I don't have a counter argument, because it was. I believe he had pitted on that pit stop 7th or 6th or somewhere in there, and he came out in 2nd. Certainly, without question, was the best pit stop. And even here, I mean, he was 7th, I believe, on that pit stop, and now he's 4th.
Yeah, and a perfect example too. Kimi Räikkönen, I would argue the worst 2 pit stops last week at Daytona.
Absolutely, they get the job done here.
And I'll just call it how it is. But you didn't spend any points on the pit crew, but the pit crew almost took last week. I guess you smacked around the shop a little bit, and they come out and keep their driver out front. So I mean, like as I mentioned, but all before pit stops, though, looking at ratings, you would think, again, not being biased or anything, but you would think Chad Reed will say way better pit crew than Kimi according to numbers. But again, story of the AI. AI's or not AI. Numbers don't necessarily matter. It can change any pit stop. Now that we're saying this, could next pit stop be a different story? Obviously, but it all depends on when you pit too. If you get jammed up, like Mick came out, had 2 lappers in front of him. These 3 had open track. Next time we come through, could the 3 leaders have lap traffic? Mick has clean track, catches up. We're through halfway, just about. Yeah, sorry, through halfway. So it'll be interesting to kind of see the battle. It looks like we're starting to ship up for 4th, but almost, before we were watching the gap from Chad to Kimi, I almost want to see the gap from Kimi to Mick and I believe McRae.
Well, let's take a look as they cross the line, and then we'll go through the field looking at the cars.
So let's see, we're at 7.1 and McRae 8.3. So we're waiting for him to come across here.
It's going to be, it is getting closer.
Big,
so very, very.
So Mick only gained a 10th, but look at McRae. He was what, 8.0, 8.1, I think?
8.1, so yeah, about 3 tenths.
And, obviously he's going to have to get around Mick, which, based on times and just how much time he's actually gained, I would say shouldn't be a problem for him. But then after that, can he pull Mick? Being obviously he has the faster car, or will Mick, use the draft and kind of stay with him. And, you know, if he stays behind him, kind of like we're seeing from Reed right now, can he use the draft to maybe use McRae to get to the front?
Well, I think certainly before they even get a chance to even think about doing that, we're going to see them hit pit road again.
Oh yeah, I don't think there's any chance they catch this pack unless, which you've seen Kimmy go defensive right there in that same section 2 laps in a row. But I think unless Chad can make a move and get them racing, I don't see them catching them until pit stops. And then even then, I would say it's hard being 7 seconds behind. But you know, again, the pit crew, you know, could have another good stop. You could have a worse stop. You could go from fourth 7 seconds back to 15th. You know, 40 seconds back. You know, you never know what you're going to get until you know you hit your box and pit crews go to work.
And I questioned it in Daytona, but did they change the tires? Did the AI change tires on any of these stops? Is that what the key was at Daytona? Were cars changing tires? Did Kimmy change tires and have those horrible pit stops because of it? And I can't answer that.
I almost want to argue, as Chad almost went to the inside on that one, but I almost want to argue in Daytona, I think they were changing tires. The stops looked, you know, a little lengthy to me, especially since I believe we're using a really low fuel load, correct?
Yes, yeah, it's like 25%.
Yeah, so to me, I think Daytona they were. I almost want to argue here. I don't think they took tires. The stop seemed a lot quicker than what Daytona was. But again, obviously, you know, with the AI, we're working with what we got, so we don't know for sure. But just going off of, you know, how long they're in their box, I would say no. Is real quick, can you pop up that gap for fourth?
It has closed a little bit.
So Mick gained a little bit. Colin,
Actually,
no, they both gained. Yeah, they both gained a lot. That
I believe Mick only gained 3/10. Colin, however, you could see it. This Mick's going defensive into the hairpin here. Smart move on his part because that should allow him to hold that position. So Mick Schumacher holding steady now, just trying to defend at this point. No longer looking to maybe go up and attack these guys. And those two have to be careful. Mick almost has to make the decision. Do I want to lose pace with the leaders and try to defend fourth? Or do I want to let him by and maybe ride behind him and try to get time?
which I almost want to use Mick's previous run as an example. I think the only pass we've really seen, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was Kimmy going for the lead. I don't think we've seen another on-track pass yet. I almost want to say, you know, I'm not trying to, again, be biased because we're the broadcaster and stuff, but I almost think Kimmy might be holding these two up a little bit. Not a lot, but,
he
you know,
very
enough.
well could be. But as the leader, I would think that that's what you're going to try to do. As we kind of look through the field a little bit, Ken Block, the last new guys. We've talked about all three of the other ones. Ken Block was the fourth one. He's back there running 17th right now. So K-Mags in 20th, Vader in 21st. Oh no, I was questioning, didn't he get disqualified? But then I realized who I was confusing him with, and it was Voldemort. So Kimmy goes defensive into 2. It looks like Chad's gonna hold steady. So what I want to see when they pit, because it seemed like they could get 10 laps, because Mike Roch definitely went 10 laps. He was on lap 11, so he went the majority of 11 laps, it seemed like. So it's going to be interesting to see if these guys take it that extra lap and get to 19 and confirm that, you know, we're going to go to the finish on just 2 stops in the whole race. But there's no guarantee of that either, as Mick continues to hold McRae off.
So looking at lap times, I think Mick went defensive again because they lost, I would say, almost a full second that lap. So I would say the gap's probably back up to 7.5 seconds or so.
You are correct. Just about.
So I don't want to say it's over for them too, but I would say they need to
Hope
kind of get
for
it sorted to make
lengthy
a push here soon.
that, or hope for lengthy pit stops out of these three.
Yeah, which again, I don't want to jinx it, but again, if we're going off strictly ratings, you would expect Reed and maybe Faust to jump
Best.
Kimmy here.
Yep.
But as we saw from the first round,
Anything
sometimes
goes.
the ratings lie. There's cones.
There's cones everywhere. I'm not really sure. I'm going to assume that was Daniel Ricciardo, and I kind of want to rewind and nope, it wasn't Ricciardo. Was it SpongeBob? I'm not going to go much further. It was SpongeBob. Whoop. So I don't know what SpongeBob was out there doing, but yeah, interesting. So this, I think, is good news
There we go.
because we actually do have another attempt at a pass. It's going to be Tanner looking up the inside of Chad Reed, and he's going to have the perfect positioning through this corner, and it looks like he's going to get the job done. Tanner Faust gets around Chad Reed.
So again, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's only the second on-track pass, at least that we've seen.
Yeah. I'll go with that statement because I know that's true.
As Mick back into a 209, so I believe actually even with Kimmy 2099.
2099, 2099.
Yeah, about a couple.
Little bit.
Off,
yeah, a little bit slower in the hundreds category, but.
So here's the question. There. You just raised it a second ago. I'll touch on it again. When do you pit? If you're going off of when they pitted the first time, they pitted lap 9 coming to start 10. That would be this lap right here, I believe, right?
And I believe that would put them capable of going to the finish. I believe.
Yes, because another 9 would be 27 coming to 28. So that would be
the finish.
The checkered, technically, yeah.
So it'll be interesting. And it'll even be interesting because I think we saw everybody pit together at Daytona on the first stop, but the second stop, we saw a little bit of difference. So will we see that again?
Yeah, it's kind of like I mentioned earlier. The first stop at Daytona, everybody pitted together. I think, like I said, you maybe had 1 or 2 stay out. We saw the same thing here, but everybody pitted. So it'll be interesting. And like I said, we got a lot of people a lap down. We started 36, I believe. I think there's quite a few still in the lead.
Kimmy's coming.
All right, so let's see what happens behind them.
And it looks like they're all 3 going to come as well. And we'll see Mick and McRae are coming as well. Okay,
so one difference here. The field is more spread out. Remember, I think there was 5 or so in that front pack the first time through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and now you have your main 3, so
5 of them all together, and now it's just these 3 guys. Yeah.
Somebody stayed out to see if that's a lapper or not. Whenever they come by, as I believe it looks like it's
Michael. Yeah.
So here we go. Arguably money stop time.
And look at Mick with that perfect exit line already.
I was gonna say, if you look at the angles, Mick looks like he's set to launch, but again, what's gonna happen?
And correct me if I'm wrong, but these stops already feel longer.
Yes, absolutely.
And Kimmy does get away in front, and it's by a good margin. And Chad's still sitting on pit road.
And big stop by Mick.
And incredibly, I believe that in that specific spot, Chad's not going to be that much further up the road from Mick.
No, that definitely closed the gap. You got to remember, I would say 7.5, 8 seconds to that front pack. It is definitely under 7 seconds now from Mick to Chad.
Absolutely. So it's going to be real interesting to see there as McRae gets out. Senna, it looks like jumped Jackie Ickx. Jackie Ickx is still there. Then you get Frosty O'Connor in 8th, Lauda in 9th. And it looks like Franchitti and Hunt battling over the last spot in. We'll see. We'll kind of keep our eyes on this through this final run to the finish. Because, again, this is who gets the last point. And I believe you said Franchitti didn't score points last week. I'm on the fence. I believe Hunt did.
To give you a fact on the points, Franchitti did not, and Hunt got 8 points. Actually, he finished 6th last week.
So this would be a big deal for Hunt to try to get that point and get him, one more point. Obviously, Franchitti trying to get his first point of the season. So
real quick, we're a little past halfway, so I'll go off of, since we're kind of mentioning points again. Your point leader coming in, Nicky Lauda. Not sure where he's at.
I believe he is in 9th. Yes, he is in 9th, so he'd come away with 2 points.
2nd place was O'Connor.
He's in 8th.
So top 2 kind of struggling. Senna was 3rd.
7th.
Nick Boulay was 4th.
I'm going to go ahead and assume he's not in the points. He's in 15th.
5th place was Mick. We know he's in the points. I believe he's 4th.
He is correct, 4th.
6th was James Hunt.
He's currently in 11th, battling for that final spot.
7th was Montoya.
Outside.
So we could see a big shake-up here.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Schumacher was 8th. We know he's a lap down.
Absolutely, so he's outside the points. I think the biggest key here is Kimi Räikkönen. If Kimi finds a way in this last segment here to put down the fastest lap of the race, he would score 26 points on top of the 1 point he had last week, and you'd come away, I'm pretty sure, with a tie if he wins.
Depends what happens with Lauda, but yeah, I would argue he will potentially be the point leader leaving here if everything holds, steady. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And your final 2 to score points last week was Voldemort and Jan Magnussen.
And they are both outside the points. I believe actually Voldemort, he's out altogether.
Correct. That's right.
So it's just Franchitti and Hunt trying to get the last couple spots in there. Jan back in 28, Jan not having a great day either. So
I think Scott Dixon started towards the back, did he not?
Scott Dixon started from 15th.
Oh, okay, never mind. I thought he did. So Alonso started 23rd.
Alonso did start 23rd.
Lando 26th. Braun 25th.
Vader was in 28th, so he's up.
Ricardo 35th
to 22nd. Absolutely. You got to give Mick Schumacher credit too now at this point. Up 7th to 4th.
Yeah, right now, I would say, well, among your top 10, the biggest mover, but a lot of your mid-pack guys kind of struggling in qualifying, moving up arguably the most spots, but so we're approaching 7 to go this time by, I believe.
I believe that is correct, as we actually have a battle here between Ix and O'Connor. Ix can go defensive into the hairpin here, and we'll see if O'Connor tries to send it around the outside. He just doesn't have enough. That's a very difficult move to try to pull off through there. You got to have a lot of power and a lot of speed to be able to hold that move, as Chad Reed not really putting the laps down. You could see that he was putting down earlier, so maybe as Kimi just kind of driving away almost. I mean, it's certainly Tanner with a couple hundredths quicker, but it's not like Kimi and Chad. Certainly, it's almost, you would say, the opposite. Kimi kind of holding steady here. So it's almost like when push came to shove this week, the Nightmare Crew guys got slapped around a bit and said, listen, we're not going to have those mistakes anymore. And they didn't. And now, in crunch time, Kimi Räikkönen just put the head down and kept going.
Which, again, I don't know if it'd be the track necessarily or just the AI here. But it almost seems like, again, as far as we know, we've only seen 2 on-track passes. It almost seems like the AI just, for some reason, can't make passes. We've seen defensive lines. I mean, I know at Daytona we saw the defensive line, for lack of better words, kind of bite you in the ass. But it seems, like I said, it seems like here there's almost as far as AI are concerned, no passing zones.
I would say the defensive line at Daytona would bite you in the right rear axle.
Yes.
Because that's exactly what it did.
But I mean, because I know personally I've never run Sebring. I know I will obviously later in the year for our endurance series stuff, but I know I've watched plenty of Sebring though, and I've seen passes. And like I said, I could be wrong, obviously, but to me, the AI just, again, I don't know if it's the way they're programmed here or what, but it's like you almost can't make a pass
Well,
for the front guys.
and a lot of it could be on the aggression, could be on the optimism, could be the way that they run. Certainly, it could be on the aggression for certain. You look at one of the guys that made one of the only passes that we've seen, Kimi Räikkönen. I know his aggression level is kind of up there, ish.
50 to be exact.
Okay, so 50. So it's certainly not low by any standard. It's interesting because you raise a valid point, and I know there are multiple passing zones here. Everywhere that they've gone defensive is a passing zone. Right here into this corner, it's a very minimal passing zone, but it certainly is. Obviously, the end of the long straightaway into that hairpin on the tarmac, it's a passing zone. It's a very difficult passing zone, but if you run it well enough, it could also set you up for the passing zone going into turn 1, which then sets up for the passing zone going into turn 2. And then, of course, there's the passing zone into the hairpin. So there's definitely plenty of areas to pass here. I'm in agreement. I don't know if it's the cars. I don't know if it's the AI. I don't really know what it is, but they just aren't making passes unless it's, on the AI or on the lappers.
And to kind of touch on your aggression, Kimmy, with this 50, one of the guys I saw earlier couldn't make the pass. I believe it was on Mick Schumacher. I thought, it was more so the aggression. You got to be aggressive to make a move. So I thought it was kind of low, but I just looked. His aggression's a 60.
Yeah.
Which is one of the higher in the field. I mean, I think we got 195, a couple 70s, but as I believe Tanner Faust just reeled in Kimmy by a good bit. Yeah, half a second.
Yeah, great lap there, and that was his quickest of the race. But as far as I remember, still not fast enough. They're all kind of getting a little bit faster. Chad Reed having his fastest the earliest. I want to say that as it currently stands, it's Brian O'Connor. No. What? No. He ran a 210 earlier. Okay. Well, as they run right now, it would be Tanner Faust. Pretty sure with the fast lap. This is the only one I've seen. I was to say, he's the only one I've seen that's gotten down to a 209.0.
And his lap before was a 209.2. As far as I know, because I've kind of been looking as we flip through the field, at last laps, that even the 2 was a flyer. Like the lowest I've seen, which we just saw right there, has been 4s. And he put down a 2 and just follows it up with a 0 as we are approaching. Actually,
we're coming to
4 to, we're actually on 4 to go.
4 to go, yeah. So this is going to be coming to 3 to go at the line.
So one thing I've been kind of brainstorming too, based off of our previous pit stops, and I would not be surprised because we've seen funky stuff happen before with AI. I think this race is going to end on pit road.
It's very possible.
Because besides the lappers, we have not seen any variation in the pit stops.
They all go to 9 laps and pit. Yeah.
Yeah, which would be lap 27. So that'd be a terrible way to finish, but unfortunately, I think I see it happening that way.
So that camera angle deceived me for a moment there. I saw Mick come off that corner and start to look to the right a little.
Oh, yeah. I thought he was right there, too.
That's why I was like, well, let me go check. Nope. That gap is as large as it's been. So, and again, another 209.0 from Tanner Faust. So I talked about, Kimi earlier when push came to shove it, when it was time to go, he went. When it was time to go, Tanner Faust said, "I'm here. Hi, I'm one of the best there is."
But and again, you know, if I'm Kimmy, I'm worried because like, I think you know a couple guys from the back have made passes, obviously to move up to the field. But if I'm Kimmy, again, we've only seen about 2 passes. One of them being Kimmy, but the other one, the guy that's about to be beating your bumper down to get the lead here late in the race.
Yeah, and on top of this, lapped car right in front of him. So we'll have to
This will be
see
interesting
how
though,
this is.
because
Yeah,
the first lapper Kimmy encountered, he got by, I would say,
with
rather
ease.
rather easily, and everybody else kind of struggled. But depending on when Kimmy gets around, being how close Tanner is, Tanner might be able to force the issue and squeeze by in the same section of the track.
And it's not looking like it's going to be at a good spot unless he gets him right here. And that's what it needs to be. It needs to be before they get into this technical section here. And I don't think he's going to get it done. He's going to be stuck behind this guy. I believe this is Oscar, and it is. He's going to be stuck behind him for probably this whole section, as he is going to force the issue here. And it looks like Tanner's going to go with it. So, yeah, as you said, because of how close Tanner was, it forced the issue. And you can see immediately on the straightaway, Kimmy goes defensive. But you could also see how that kind of plays into his favor, because Tanner wasn't gaining on him at all down the straightaway. Tanner had no draft.
It's gonna get interesting. We're coming to 3 to go. Again, if we hate to say it, but I think if pit stops remain the same, we're gonna be pitting here in 2 laps. But that lap definitely killed Tanner from his 209.0 consistency.
Oh, absolutely. And certainly you have to put it on the lap car there. They both had to slow down through there for sure. But just incredible stuff from Tanner Faust to get up here and battle with Kimi Räikkönen. And I think do it.
Was that 209 threes we just saw from them guys?
McRae with a 209.3, and I don't think there was another 209.3.
Okay. Discord got blurry for a second, so I didn't know if that was a 3 or a 7, but I guess it was a 7.
It was a 7.
Okay.
But certainly, where am I? No, yes. As there goes Oscar off, and he's going to come back on, and this is going to be right in front of Chad Reed. This might be what Mick was looking for to maybe possibly get on the podium, but it looks like Chad's going to get around him with ease. Disregard anything I was talking about, giving Mick a chance to get on the podium there.
That's called getting your hopes up and then pushing them off a bridge, we'll say.
So as they run, the podium is, of course, Kimi Räikkönen on the top step, Tanner Faust looking to take the top step, and then Chad Reed, who was the guy looking to take the top step for quite a while. He's on the bottom step, but he is there. So it's definitely where you want to be, but I can't bring myself to really take my eyes off this battle, but I know there's another one going on that is as important further in the field, and it's going to be right here. It's Dario Franchitti versus James Hunt, and you can see they're still going at it. Nick Boulay is there as well. Takami Fujiwara is there.
So there was a pass right there.
Yeah.
Boulay was 13th last lap. Now he's 12th.
Absolutely. So it can be done. We can confirm it can, in fact, be done, as we're trying to get to the front and see. So Tanner's going to look to try to get a pass done into 1 on the outside. And
went back to a 209.5.
He's going to be there, but I think Kimi's going to be able to squeeze him out, and then Kimi's going to go defensive here. Very well done by Kimi, being very, very veteran driver. He's going to know what he's doing, as they're on 2 to go. The next time by is going to be the white flag. So certainly some late drama for the lead. And
I believe Mick's going to lose that 4th spot here. He's gonna, that lap car definitely slowed him up and helped McRae.
I don't know that he'll lose it, but there might be a challenge for it. I'll give him.
So Kimi lost 3/10 to what he had gained with the whole lapper situation, as he went to an 8, and Faust went right back down to his sub 5. But again, I'll admit it. I'm worried this race is going to end on pit road based off what we saw.
And
But
it's certainly possible, but they might also, they might be like, okay, well, it's the last lap. I'm not pitting.
I hope they're that smart, but you
Well,
never know.
I hope they're that smart too. If it
After all,
does,
we disqualified our first driver in the Daytona 500.
this is true. We showed that we're not that smart because it was the wrong person.
Wow. Hey, Hannah Montana once said, everybody makes mistakes.
As once again, Kimi Räikkönen goes defensive. He's going to look to defend here into Los. I keep wanting to call it the Sunshine Hairpin. I don't know if it really is.
He's there.
Tanner's going to send it on the outside. But again, as I said, you've got to have a really, really good car to make that work. And I just don't think it's enough. So he's going to have to fall in line. And now Kimi's going to go defensive on the front stretch. As you can see up in the distance, there are some lap cars.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So now Tanner's going to send it around on the outside. Kimi's going to shove him a little
2
wide
lappers
here.
ahead.
And Kimi's going to look to defend to the inside. He's defending where he needs to defend. He's being very, very good at doing what he needs to do. Very veteran things out of both of these drivers. They're two of the older drivers in this field. And like you said, there's 2 lappers ahead, and one of them they're catching very quickly. And I can't believe this, but I'm pretty sure this is only the first time they are lapping him.
And he is very slow.
And he's just going to get out of their way, pretty much. Just stay to the side. I don't want any part of this. You guys go right ahead.
I think that was just enough, though. I think Kimi, kind of being the leader, got virtue of, getting by first. And I think Tanner kind of got slid up a little bit in the middle of that corner. That is more than likely going to seal it up here for Kimi.
Well, there's certainly one more chance for Tanner, and it's going to be into the hairpin, the final one. He's got to get through here well, and he's close enough to be on his draft, but as we know, Kimi's going to go defensive. I can't see him being any different than he has been the whole time, and it's going to be interesting because how far does Tanner push it on his final corner, and do we see a repeat of Daytona in the final corner?
See, I would like to see the AI get aggressive, as Kimi's actually not go defensive so far.
And this is very interesting. I don't know if he has the draft off the car in front of him, and that could be a factor into why he's not going defensive.
Tanner's not going to get there, though. So big question. I don't want to ruin the finish, but I wonder if they're going to pit.
And we're going to find out. And they are not. They're going to stay out on track. So it's going to be coming across the line for his first win of the season, Kimi Räikkönen. Followed by Tanner Faust in second. And third place is Chad Reed. And Mick Schumacher does hold off.
Lost it.
But he does hold off, and he holds on to fourth. Ayrton Senna, I believe, is coming home in sixth.
So real quick, let's go back to the battle for 10th. We know there's about 4 cars battling for it.
So you get 7th, 8th, and 9th. It does look like O'Connor. It's going to be Ix, O'Connor, and Lauda. And there's Schumacher, and then you got Franchitti. And it doesn't look like anybody's... Yeah, it doesn't look like anybody's going to be close. This is going to be for the final points-paying position. And it's going to be, with ease, Dario Franchitti. Now to look at the only other stat that matters. As we'll go back to the front. And I guess we'll start with Tanner. I believe last I checked, he was the fastest with a 209.05.
So the race is over, and then he passes him.
Yeah. Well, you see, what had happened was Kimi finally just let him pass. But a 209.054 for Chad Reed, and I believe McRae with a 209.2 there on the last lap, giving it everything to try to get to Mick, which is not enough. But I believe, yeah, that's going to be your fast time, a 209.054. Give the point to Tanner Faust. So Kimi Räikkönen not getting full points today. But he does get the win. So it's what Kimi wants. Obviously, you'd love to get that point, but getting a win certainly is huge. And I believe, actually, who finished second last week? O'Connor?
Second last week was O'Connor.
So he came away in eighth, which I believe is 4 points.
Correct.
So that's well, he should hold on to second, but a big points day overall for Tanner Faust is I believe he's going to get 19 out of that.
Correct.
So it's
unofficially though, your new point leader will be Kimi Räikkönen.
Are you sure about
that? Well, where did Lauda finish?
I believe he finished ninth. Lauda finished ninth, which is worth 2 points.
So he'll be at 27. Okay, so he'll be up by 1.
So your new official second place in the points, Kimi Räikkönen. That's what I thought. I think Kimi needed the fast lap today to get even tied with him in where he was running, and that's what it was. So, good job by everybody. Another great race. As far as any of us can tell, certainly fantastic. I thought somebody was around back there. I was gonna be like, good lord, they can't make it through the cool down lap, but nobody's around. Everybody's alive. Yeah, Kimi Räikkönen with the pole and the victory. Tanner Faust with a third place starting spot turns it into a second. Chad Reed second back to third. So the guys that were podium in qualifying, well, they're still the podium. And if any indication there is of Kimi Räikkönen being the guy, knowing how many skill points he gets and knowing where they're going, Kimi Räikkönen might be a guy to continue to keep an eye on.
I mean, it'll be interesting though, because I mean, I think today proved though that you don't need 100 rating to be fast. No. I mean, obviously it helps, but like I said, I mean, look at, I believe it's Rebel Racing for a perfect example. Granted, they're not the only person they have at 100. I think I said was Senna, but he finished 6th.
Yep.
So I mean, like I said, granted it helps, but he finished 6th, 16 seconds off the pace. It's not even like he was 6th and battling for 5th or 4th with Mick and Colin. He was almost double their gap. Well, actually, it was double their gap back to them.
But where I stand on it is knowing that Kimi is not at 100 and managed to win a race over guys that are at 100, and knowing that now he is going to be at 100. Personally, that would be a little bit scary, at least a little bit, knowing that he is as good as he is now before that.
I mean, like we said, though, I think it's a mixture of everything. I think it's aggression, optimism, because optimism, it's basically the driver's belief in their ability. I think it's just a mix of everything. I think as we have
whatever the hell this is, at the Sunshine Air, and welcome to the party, Ricardo. I think he's out of gas. I think he's out of gas. I think that's the only explanation.
But it's just, it's a combination of everything. That's kind of all I can really say about it. I mean, you would think 100 rating would, be enough. Clearly, you can win as an underdog.
Yeah.
But I think something too that proved a little weird, in my opinion, the whole pit crew thing. To me, you would think a better pit crew, regardless, would be good. But again, a perfect example: Mick Schumacher added 3 rating to his pit crew, but they're still only at an 8 rating. he's beating guys off pit road that are 40, 50, 60.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There's no telling with any of these races, and knowing how much fun this has been, even if there wasn't a lot of passing, I'm extremely excited to see what the NASCAR boys are going to do on this circuit for their first ever time being on this circuit.
It'll be interesting for sure. The only thing that might save the race tomorrow and then even the rest of the week is going to be stages. I think. See, I don't know. It'll be something we'll have to maybe play around with and stuff and kind of figure some stuff out. But
On how we're going to do the stages.
No, we'll throw caution stuff still. I'm just more so just the passing and stuff. I'll be honest, I was excited to come here just because, again, I've never run it personally on iRacing, but I've watched plenty of races, whether it be, I think it's IMSA or whatever comes here now and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I said, I've seen plenty of passing, and I was, just to be honest, I'm a little disappointed being just seeing, we saw Faust get around Reed, caught right back up to Kimmy. We saw Mick get around, I believe it was Ix, and gapped him, kind of ran away from him.
Yeah.
So it's just a little disappointed with, again, nothing we can control, but just expected a little bit more passing and, a little bit of a better race. But, it is what it is. I think we'll find out tomorrow more so what's going to change. I think it's going to be a little bit better, hopefully, especially being because of the stages. Obviously you're guaranteed at least 2 pit stops,
mm-hmm.
and then 1 that final stage. So we'll see 3 pit stops tomorrow. So, again, we saw today, 97 rating, I believe, just won the race. I wouldn't say handily, but held on, won the race.
No, absolutely not handily, but he did what he needed to.
I would argue tomorrow, I think you're going to see, I'm not going to call it, it's definitely going to happen, but I would not be surprised if we see a 100 rating driver win tomorrow. And I think pit crews are going to play more of a factor. I think we saw it at Daytona. I think, like I said, again, I think we'll see it tomorrow as well.
Well, and I think a lot of it is the difference in types of cars. Certainly the GT4s are much different types of cars, and they don't play well with getting damaged. So, as we saw in the first lap. So it'll be interesting to see with a car that kind of, can beat a bang a little bit, such as the truck and the Xfinity car and the Cup car. It'll be interesting to see if they do, in fact, beat and bang a little bit more. And certainly that would open up the door for a little bit more passing. But like you said, it'll be very interesting. And certainly what I've noticed out of the few test races I've done with the NASCAR series on this circuit, the lap cars, as they do pretty much everywhere at this point, play a pretty big factor. So
yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm not gonna say we'll have to change track. I would say depending on how tomorrow goes, I think we consider it. As bad as I'm not a fan of changing things mid-season or mid-week, whatever. But I think as far as again, just passing an overall perspective, I think it potentially needs to be done. But again, we'll see how tomorrow goes. I could eat my words tomorrow, and we could have 40 passes for the lead between the 100 rating guys. But we'll see what happens. You never know.
Absolutely, but I think I don't know that there's really much to cover left. We're going to be hopefully here all week. We'll like Josh said, we'll have to maybe reevaluate that after tomorrow, but we'll certainly be here tomorrow for the NORA Truck Sim Series Sebring race, fresh from Florida, whatever. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it from all the drivers, and I know you're looking forward to it for the simple fact that it's going to be different, and hopefully it is what we're hoping for. So, other than that, I think we're good. This has been the National Oval Racing Association broadcast booth. I'm Nick Gillis, and he's
Josh Conover.
And that is going to do it for us from sunny Sebring.